And how are you?
Join the meeting.
Yvonne, can you please?
Is that me again?
There's some echoing, yeah.
I think so.
I don't have filters on. Let me see. I'm going to try to mute myself to see. Alicia, I think it might be you. So I'm going to mute you.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh. I'm going to mute you for a second.
Sure.
We'll get the feedback. Are we still getting? Hello, hello, hello? Can you hear me okay? No feedback? Okay. So Christina, if it's okay, I'll go ahead and read my speech when you're ready.
Yes, Yvonne, go ahead and start. Sorry about that.
Good morning and welcome to Miami DDA's COVID Recovery Committee meeting. My name is Yvonne de la Vega, Board Secretary for Miami DDA, and I will be serving as a moderator along with Elvira Manin from our Miami DDA team. Miami DDA's COVID Recovery Committee meeting will be live streamed on Miami DDA's Facebook page, so members of the public will be able to view this digital meeting fully. Members of the public may pre-record their questions or comments by dialing 305-379-6586. You may send your questions and comments via email to publiccomments@miamidda.com. Any comments received within the public comments period prior to this meeting have been shared with the board members, entered into the record, and considered prior to any action being taken. Board members will have an opportunity to address the public comments received as time permits. Instructions for leaving public comments for Miami DDA board or committee meetings can always be found on our website at miamidda.com. All board members are reminded not to communicate with other board members, chat, message, or phone, as it is a violation of the Florida Sunshine Law. All conversation is to happen within this meeting that is being recorded. We encourage board members and all participants to use the chat feature for any questions and comments you may have during the discussion. Board members, Miami DDA Executive Director, City of Miami Deputy Attorney, and our presenters will be on video with video and microphones open during the entire meeting. Closed captioning has also been made available for this meeting. To activate closed captioning, please click the CC button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. So far, there have been no public comments received prior to this meeting. And with that, Richard Leidecker, Chairman of the Miami DDA COVID Recovery Committee. With your permission, I will call out the names of those present for the roll call so that we can begin the meeting. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be true. Thank you.
So we have Danette Linares, Alisa Cervera, Christina Crespi, Fernando Gasmayor. We have Richard Leidecker, Gary Ressler, Susanna Maducci, and Joseph Salzberg, and Aaron Gordon. And I believe that's it. We have staff on the phone as well. All yours. Thank you.
Thank you. So Fernando Casamayor is on the call to give us an update. He is the Assistant City Manager at the City of Miami. And he'll give us an update on the latest. Hi, Fernando. The latest from a city's perspective and what they're doing currently to get these numbers a bit more under control. Thank you, Fernando, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, well, thank you for the update, Christina. Just by way of introduction, those of you who don't know me, Fernando Casamayor, Assistant City Manager. I've been with the city, I believe, 6 years already. Prior to that, I spent a little bit of time at the county, 26 years worth over there, which is where I met Christina. I've been tasked with being the point person for the city's economic recovery team. So just a little bit of background. We've basically created a group of individuals, pretty much all at the assistant director level from the City of Miami's table of organization. We've broken up our group into several areas: business and individual needs and assistance group, an infrastructure group that includes IT as well as capital improvements and public works, a data policy and innovation group, and a communications group. We've been working mostly dealing with a lot of individual things like coordinating the food giveaways, dealing with the grants and the microloans for our businesses that we were able to turn around pretty quickly, reestablishing the Buy Miami program, helping individuals that have been displaced. A lot of folks from the service industry that have been displaced as a result of the closures, and hooking them up with jobs at places like Target and Publix and Walmart that are hiring. So we've used all of our internal resources to try to help those individuals that either need food, assistance, housing, or employment. We are also working on pushing out some capital projects that'll help get the economy moving some. So a lot of shovel-ready projects. We actually have an item on the agenda this Thursday to put them on our expedited procurement list so we can get those procured and negotiated and awarded very quickly in order to start getting some dollars flowing. And then we're working on a Mask Up campaign where, we have, by use of social media, kind of reminding people that they need to wear their masks in public, to please use them. It's for everyone's benefit. And then finally, we're putting together a kind of a warehouse of data from different areas in order to give us some indications on how our economy is doing. And again, right now it's we're kind of in a holding pattern as businesses are still closed or occupancy is restricted, or we're talking about potential reclosures as a result of the numbers that we're seeing. We're really kind of in a holding pattern in order to move some of the larger projects out. But as soon as we get a little bit of clarity, the sun comes out again from the storm, hopefully we'll have a significant number of projects that we can put out in order to try to get our economy moving. Did I miss anything, Christina? Do you need me to touch on anything else? I think you wanted to know what we're doing with the recovery, right?
Right, yeah, I think.
Christina, can I just for a second hey, Fernando, I think
there.
one thing we're looking most at it, in terms of what the charge of this committee is, we're trying to aid reopening. But I at least feel like there's a lot of uncertainty about reopening. I was supposed to move back into our offices July 6th. That's about 80 employees. I stopped it. We're not doing it. We're posting 11,000, 12,000 per day for the past 6 days. So I hear rumors that it's going to shut down, which means everything we're doing is kind of a waste of time if we go back into a lockdown. So I guess for me, I'm kind of interested as to what the plan is, and in terms of are we going back into lockdown? What is the method to help slow the numbers? Because eventually these numbers are going to catch up to us.
Right. So thank you. Good question. And I will try to answer it as best I can. So it's not entirely up to the city to determine a lockdown. Obviously the situation that we have in the area is, we can be more restrictive than the county, but we can't be any less restrictive than the county. So a lot of the power on the true close down comes at the county side. Sure, we can add additional closures for restaurants. We can have additional occupancy requirements for our restaurants or for some of our other facilities. We have tried, because it's very confusing out there for the business owners. So we've tried to really try to stick with the county, whatever it is that they've decided to do. And we've tried to get the commitment of other municipal governments to kind of stay the course where we're all kind of doing the same thing, because A, it's confusing. B, if I'm closed but Miami Beach is open, people are still getting COVID on the beach and bringing it here, or vice versa. And, the reality is, even though we have a bunch of different municipalities, this truly is a region. I mean, people from everywhere travel throughout all of our municipal governments, so we really should try to have some form of consistency. So we've been working to try to ensure that we have that. Um, as for what the plan is on the closures, we don't want to just close because the numbers are bad and have no plan moving forward. Because we're just going to end up looking at, all right, we close for 2 weeks, things get better, and then we wait, and a month later things are bad again, so we're going to have to close again, and that's it. I think that's economic suicide if we continue to open and close businesses, because obviously it's a big struggle for a business to close, and even bigger struggle for them to reopen, and then it would be a enormous struggle to close again. And I think we've probably already lost a good number of businesses as a result of the crisis. And if we do that kind of stuff, we're just going to lose a lot more of them. So we're very, very conscious of trying to make sure that if we do take this step as a region to close, that we do have a plan moving forward. So it's a 2-week, a 3-week, whatever the right amount of time is, and whatever the data it is that we need to see. And then how do we reopen strategically after that? So again, we don't want to close. We're trying not to do so. And we're really just looking at the numbers to see, because it comes to a point that even though we don't want to destroy the economy, public safety is paramount. So that's kind of where we're at.
I guess I don't understand. Like, so what does that mean? Or are there talks going on that they are going to shut down? Or is it you're saying that under no circumstances are you going to shut down? I can't. This is like grabbing at Jello. Is there some?
No, I'm not saying under no circumstances anything. I mean, so you kind of broke up there, but no, there is no under no circumstance situation. If the numbers continue to look bad, if we're still the epicenter of coronavirus for another, few days or a week or whatever, we're going to have to do something, and that's going to be shut things down. We're hoping that enforcing the mask wearing and giving citations out and doing those things regionally, because it's not just the city, I think everyone else is doing that now, does have an impact. And if we see that, then we know that we can possibly continue to do that enforcement without having to take the dramatic step of closing things down. It's all a numbers game, and in reality, as we're looking at the numbers to see if we need to tighten up or not. So I don't. The reality is I don't have an answer for you regarding what we're going to do unless I know what that data is going to be.
It sounds mostly like a deferral to county at this point. Do we have any idea from the county, Christina? I think what the city's been doing, obviously, Fernando, your work, you've been doing yeoman's work. And obviously the extent to which you've activated is impressive. And I thank you for that. But I think to Richard's point, as businesses, as property, as managers of properties that house hundreds of businesses, we really need some more clarity on what the future of closures and openings are on a more specific scale. Do we have anyone in the county that's giving us that indication, Christina?
So they're supposed to have a meeting today to make some decisions. What that means, I don't know. Nobody from the county's on the call, but our lobbyist, Joseph, I don't know if you've heard anything. I don't know if you want to mention what you're hearing, Joseph, county or state. I don't know if you have any updates, but it's my understanding that they're going to have a conversation today, both mayors, about possibly future closures. I think they were wanting to see with the mask requirement, if that helped curb the numbers. It looked like they're a little better, ones I saw yesterday. And so I think they want to give that some time to see if this curves the spread of the virus. And if not, they're going to discuss further closures like Fernando mentioned. The timing of that is the question. Is it 2 days, 3 days, a week? That's the part that I can't get clarification on.
I can tell you just from the city side, we don't want to do an overnight closure. We would like to give business, if we're going to do it, we want to make sure that we give businesses a good amount of time, whether it be a week or 2 weeks, whatever that number is, in order for them to prepare to close down. And then the same thing on the reopenings. We don't want to do an overnight reopening for things because people just aren't prepared. So I think the lessons that we've learned so far along this path is that, we want to try to communicate, at least the city wants to try to communicate with the business community, the good and the bad, just to make sure that you guys are aware, already. And, again, I hate to say it, but Gary, you're correct. A lot of it is out of the city's hands. In the end, we have to fall by whatever the county decides to do. And we can, tweak, but really that's all we could do.
So one comment on what you said about giving businesses enough time to open and close or whatever. And I would caution that some businesses can turn around on a dime and reopen. So I think that you shouldn't penalize those businesses by saying you have to wait 2 weeks if in fact we're ready to open. Now, and on the other note, if we're in the epicenter of this thing right now, to wait 2 weeks to close, if you think we need to close, I'm not sure what the upside is of that. If we're just going to prolong the agony. And my other question is, how are our hospitals doing? Because we hear rumors all over the place about the hospitals, and I have had now 3 people who have told me that they had gone to sign up for testing, have left the line, and have been called with positive tests. So what is going on there? And, this is a very disconcerting data point. I don't know if you all have heard that or not.
So I've heard it not from a professional source, from another personal source, I think like you did, about that stuff. I don't know where the tests were done, if they were done at Marlins or if they were done at, the stadium, whatever, the football stadium, Hard Rock, whatever it's called today, or if it was done at whatever, that I don't know. But, we are trying to get us the best data we can. With that said, the state of Florida's data isn't great, and we have to sort through a lot of that to see what it truly means. So yeah, that's another good point. The data is not perfect either. So
One question about the data is to find out whether the same person gets tested twice or 3 times, and whether that person gets counted as a new person every time they get tested. And I don't know if you know that information, but that would be interesting for people to understand and get clarity on.
yeah, I think right now we're just counting number of positive tests. And I wish we had some, I truly wish we had some confidence in the data we're getting from the health department. But we kind of have to sort through it, and it's not great. It's really not the greatest data possible.
Mm-hmm.
What, like, if you had confidence data from the health department, what's the difficulty with the data you're getting?
Again, things like we don't know if a positive test counts 2 or 3 times for the same individual. I have heard, same as Alicia has, the rumors that people haven't even gotten tested and they left and then they're getting positive results and stuff. So, I mean, the system is overwhelmed somehow, whether it's the lab, whether it's the state's data center, or both. And, we're just trying to sort through what we do see, even if it's bad data, there's been a huge increase in the number of cases. So, you can't just throw it all away because you're not totally confident in it. And then, even us, our employees, and we're using a different testing center than the state of Florida is putting out there. And even our own tests are coming back, and we're seeing that there's an uptick in the number of positive individuals. So, it's the only verification we can do is kind of see what we see that we can control, and we've seen that there has been an increase. So we can only assume that some of the data from the state is absolutely correct. But yeah, we have similar problems with data from the state. But yes, we are seeing an uptick, and it's regional. The county's seeing it, every city is seeing it, so it's not just us.
And what about the hospitals? Because again, some people are saying they're overwhelmed, that we're going to open the convention center, it's kind of all over the place. So where does the truth lie there?
The hospitalizations are starting to grow. That's a lagging number from the number of positive cases. I don't think we're at the point where, we call in the cavalry right now, but the number of beds, since we can convert beds in certain facilities, that's being done. And, I don't think the hospitals are overrun right now. If we get a call from Jackson that, hey, we're at capacity, we can't, and at that point we need to react drastically, but we haven't gotten that yet from JMH. There's warnings, they're very concerned and they're going to keep looking, but we haven't seen that the
My
beds.
understanding is that they're already converting. I mean, my understanding is that ICU beds are already at maxed out, and I know that at least one maternity ward is being converted to ICU for COVID. Are you saying that those are not accurate reports?
No, I'm just saying that I haven't gotten the confirmation that, hey, things are really bad, you need to start opening a field hospital type thing. At the moment, yes, they are converting beds, they're doing what they have to do. But no, we haven't gotten the call to turn convention centers into hospitals yet.
And are they converting in
Joseph's on the-
anticipation, or are they converting because they're out of beds?
Sorry, Christina, you said, yeah, guys, this is Joseph Salzberg, talking to you from the safety of my own home. Just to give you kind of an update, we're monitoring on behalf of the DDA and several other clients, hospitalizations just at the county level and South Florida level. The state of Florida stuff is a little bit delayed, but the most recent dashboard shows that as of yesterday, Miami-Dade County, our ICU bed capacity, we're at 127.39% of ICU bed capacity. So that means our admissions are well over ICU bed capacity. We are now converting beds from acute care and stuff like that. Non-ICU COVID capacity, we're at 67%. So that's non-ICU bed capacity. And what's important to note, without passing judgment, just presenting information, is we're at 127% of ICU bed capacity. That is 20 points higher than last week, which was 18 points higher than the week before.
So
It seems that the shutdown is in order. This is out of control, and Labor Day is also around the corner, so it just seems like we have to control this before the fall to do whatever we can.
And Danette, you participated on Friday in a meeting with the city as well. I don't know if you want to share, kind of some background from that meeting, because it was a good.
It was a Zoom call. I think, Fernando, you were on it, and Fernando basically gave the update. It's really that, the city wants to work with the county, and it's got to be something that both the city and the county do, work together in order to make it, just make it work, as well as masks. Everybody, the small businesses are concerned about shutting down. And nobody really wants to shut down, but at the same time, everyone sees the numbers that keep going up. Masks, they instituted more fines for not wearing masks, Fernando basically said everything that was in the meeting. But again, masks are important. Everybody needs to wear their masks. If you don't wear masks, you get fined. But at the same time, how do you enforce that? And there are just so many cops, and the police force is, past capacity. They're exhausted with everything that's going on. So we all need to do our part. But at the same time, me personally, and I've spoken to other business people in the community, that if we have to do a shutdown, now's the time to do it before the fall. Now, when everybody's on, a lot of people are on vacation, schools haven't opened yet. Because the other thing that there are parents that are concerned that, especially single moms or single parents that have their kids and they can't do homeschooling and have their full-time job at the same time. So I think if we have to bite the bullet, we have to do it now.
Yeah, and I'll echo what Danette says is, and then I'm probably going to say we should put this meeting off until we get some clarity, because right now I don't think we know anything. But, the decision makers around, and I think it starts at the state level, have turned this thing into a slow bleed out, right? You bleed the business community out over a prolonged period of time rather than just getting it done, because we don't have adults in the room who are going to make tough decisions. Even if Miami-Dade shuts down, you still got the rest of the state coming in here, right? So for the big business, I'm one of the larger businesses in downtown Miami in terms of employee count, size of leasehold takedowns, all of that. And we're all sitting here wondering what we're supposed to do, and I can't get an answer. Nobody knows. I'm just going to see if 12,000, 14,000 cases per day for the state of Florida, when does that choke us to death? And then once it chokes us to death, say, oh, it's too much. and yet we have school season coming. So rather than make decisions now, we're just doing a slow bleed for businesses. And it's absolutely ridiculous. I'm not blaming anybody on this phone call. I'm not. So I
Yeah, but
just,
the problem here also is that, I'm not sure that a complete shutdown is the solution either, because when you look at cities that have done that, and they've been shut down for longer, they open and this thing keeps going. That's the problem, that who knows where the truth lies. But for me, the metrics that I've always been looking at is number one, mortality, which I'd like to see that metric also. And the other one is not overrunning our hospital system so that the hospitals can give the proper care. But other than that, it's just about slowing down. It's not about stopping. Tragically, I don't think there's a silver bullet out there. There just isn't anybody who's done this quote unquote right. But I do think that from what I've been tracking, and by the way, I want to thank Christina for getting out the information and Joseph for gathering that information that you sent us, certainly weekly. We can't overrun our hospitals. And what it's looking like right now is that the hospitals are being overrun. Can somebody talk to the mortality rate, please?
make sure you cut off that bit.
She wants somebody to speak about the mortality rate. What is the mortality rate right now?
I have to pull up the loss report from the county. Hold on, give me a minute.
The problem is that,
Are you looking for the mortality rate statewide or county?
Yeah, that's the question, because I think I only have the county numbers.
And both would be good, because, and the other thing is, why is somebody from the county not on this call? Were they not invited, or they just didn't show up?
No, we just kept it. I just didn't add them. It was not anything on purpose.
I think in the future we need to have somebody from the county on these calls.
Sure, no problem. We can.
Yeah.
I can try to figure out.
I think
the mayor's
what we
office.
just heard is that the hospitals are at 128% capacity of ICU beds. That sounds to me like a system overrun at this point.
Right. I mean, and I guess the Jackson hasn't called for that. They would be the expert to defer to, but maybe we need to pose the question, right?
Jackson's already converting beds to ICU that were not
right.
ICU.
But what I heard the city representative say is that they have not called for
a field hospital.
Yeah,
for a field hospital.
I don't know, and maybe I haven't heard right. Is Jackson saying we'll overrun, we need to close the city, we need to blah, 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 or not?
So let me just, so I don't want to add any more confusion to the confusion, but I have to kind of be clear. So, I mean, a lot of these communications are done at the county level, and then it gets filtered towards the city. So, if JMH is has an issue and needs additional capacity for beds, or they need to open up, for instance, the youth fairgrounds or whatever as a hospital, that's being communicated to the county, and the county activates to go do that. So the city would be kind of not the first ones to know what the issue is.
I mean, that's just ridiculous, guys.
I completely understand.
That's kind of why I didn't add them to this call.
But they should be, because we're just perpetuating the ridiculousness if we all can't be on a call together. I mean, that's not acceptable.
So I am as frustrated as anyone else with kind of the communications that we've had, and I'm going to leave it at that.
And it's not that I haven't tried, Alicia. I don't want to make it sound like I haven't tried.
How about, I guess as the of the committee is, and everybody, members, tell me what your thoughts are. Until we have clarity, somebody put mute. Until we have clarity of where we're going with the city, us debating what better things we can do to help activate downtown seems like it's not worth the discussion. We have a good list in place. I thought we had everybody's input on things where we can do 3 yards in a cloud of dust, move the football down the field, and help. The problem is I think everybody points out is, well, we're posting record numbers at like 14,000, 12,000. We're talking about the hospitals that the numbers at least suggest, or if not, are about to get overrun if we follow mathematics and science. And I think the death rate, I think it's a lagging indicator. I think I agree with everything Alicia says. I agree with you. The death rate But the problem is our denominator has gotten so big, our population's gotten so big, that even a reduced death rate is still going to be piling up a lot of bodies, in my opinion. Maybe we put this over till Monday. Next, put it over a week, see if we can get the county here with the city here, and we'll have a little bit more view of the trajectory of where we are going. Either it's going to start coming down, or it's going to get up, and then it's going to, in my opinion, it's going to affect what kind of decisions this committee makes.
Well, you
I
already.
don't know if you saw the chat, Richard, 1.5% mortality rate for the state, and Miami-Dade County is 1.5%. So we're higher, our mortality rate. It's slight, but we're higher. And that's the scary part, is that our trajectory seems to be going up and up. And at some point, we just have to put a stop to it. And if it requires a shutdown, then we have to shut down for 2
And
weeks.
deaths are a lagging indicator, as you pointed out, Richard.
Right.
We already know that deaths lag by weeks, depending on the capacity of ICUs and infections. And I
Can you
agree.
see the report that I'm sharing? Can you see it?
And I
Yeah.
agree with that. I mean, I think if the county was, I mean, I think of my kids, right? Like, we pulled our kids out of school when the infection rate was 10% of what it is now, and we're talking
Exactly.
about putting them back in school
Right.
when it's jumped like this. I think we're talking about the same in terms of.
I think in the long run, our businesses will do better if we are proactive now, when we can be proactive. And there are a lot of people that are out that it's a good time to shut down now. That's just my opinion and what I've been seeing. It's scary out there. The business community, the businesses that we've been losing, the tenants that are not coming to town and stopping their negotiations.
Yeah,
But
nobody.
my
On the
whole
front
thing is
lines
that,
of what's going on right now.
Jeanette, if you're right, and you may be, then to say we're gonna wait another week, to me, is insanity. Because, you know, these are priceless weeks, because I think we have to get the kids back. You know, we have to get the kids back in school. I don't think that's negotiable as far as I'm concerned. We only talk about COVID, but we're not talking about the collateral damage, which is enormous. People are dying of other things. People are losing their minds, literally, and keeping kids at home in the cinder box is going to get worse and worse. Parents, when they canvass them, overwhelmingly want to get their kids back in school.
Right, which is exactly why maybe we need to take the drastic measure now and try to, so that kids can go back to school safely.
Well, there's certainly no upside to waiting another week. If we're gonna do it, then let's do it, because waiting another week, as you said, is just making things worse.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're saying the trajectory for the mortality rate is going up as the ICU gets fuller and fuller. And I guess part of my question is, the ICU is getting fuller, we know that. Is the time that people are spending in the ICU getting longer, and are more people being discharged because they're being treated better in ICU, or not? Because that's also an important part of this, because I guess maybe it's wishful thinking, but I'm under the impression that while more people are testing positive, less people as a percentage are dying, and I think that bears out in the data. But I want to know, with these people that are going into the hospital, and I have been looking at the reports and the ventilators and all of that stuff, they seem to be spending a long time in ICU, but for the few cases that I've known, they're getting out alive. So what do you guys know about that?
Christina, Fernando?
I don't have any, can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't have any numbers that drill down on the ICU average length of stay and things of that nature, but I can reach out to Jackson and see if they can give us a more detailed report other than what we're getting from the county, which I had up prior to this one.
Yeah, I think it's important, because I think at the end of the day, it's about mortality. And again, the only dashboard we're looking at is the COVID dashboard. There's a lot of other pain and suffering that's going on here that's also killing people, that is not being addressed. And it can't be ignored, because it's a huge number. It's a significant number.
I have a question for Richard and Christina. Does this committee want to propose, for the entire committee, does this committee want to propose a shutdown? supporting a shutdown?
I would, the question is for me as the chair, I didn't agree with you. If that's in fact show.
You're breaking up, Richard. I don't know if you have.
Alicia, can you just mute
Can
for a
you hear me
second?
now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, I just think if I, as a business owner in the city of Miami, one of the larger ones, I'm just getting bled out slow here in the city of Miami. I've been dealing with this problem. I get it. It's a problem. There's no choice. We all have to do things we don't want to do. But, I mean, for everybody to keep thinking that we're going to have exponential growth at 12,000 new infections per day for the past 5-10 days, whatever that number is, and big exponential growth is not going to kill us on this. And we're going to drag this pain out. Like Alicia said, we're going to do it, get it over with. I personally don't think I had that type of information to make that recommendation. I just don't. I mean, maybe if the county were here and they were telling us that, that Jackson's overwhelmed, it's over, and we're putting up field hospitals, maybe I would think differently and just get it done. But I mean, I wouldn't. I'd put it over for a week. If I had the support of the committee, I'd say right now we don't have enough information. We put this over for a week, direct staff to ask the county to join us so that we can get an understanding, and then have staff either run through our action plan on how to reopen the city, or we just table it. And maybe we come out and say, hey, listen, if you're going to shut the place down, shut it down now. Let's not make the pain harder, because all you're doing is just taking on more exponential growth, and waiting for death usually takes like 3 weeks. By the time you figure out the death rate spike, you've had 3 weeks of exponential growth. So to me, I would move to put it over for next Monday and direct staff to get, all the relevant people present.
I don't know the timeline required in order to do another public notice of this committee meeting, if it's a week or not. But then Fernando also mentioned that today, the mayors are going to get together to discuss whether to shut down or not as well.
Yeah, we can schedule another meeting for Monday and hopefully get some representatives from the county, maybe even Jackson on the call. I did reach out, they just weren't available. And
well, I think to Danette's point, the question is, do we want to have to Danette's point, I think the question is, do we want to have a voice in this afternoon's meeting with mayors? I think that's what Danette's essentially asking. And I don't
sorry, I misunderstood. So, but Danette, are you?
I think that's that's what a resolution from this committee would do, is sort of provide support one way or the other. And I see the value in that.
Are you going to be in that meeting today again, Danette?
No, I think it's, Fernando, I think that's a meeting between Carlos and Francis, right? Fernando, you're on mute.
No, he's muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I got to remember to press buttons, man. Yeah, no, it is a meeting between mayors, not the same that we had on Friday. So, look,
it's
guys.
not an open meeting then. Okay.
I'm concerned about the data, and I'm concerned about whether the data is accurate or not. Danette, I totally understand your concern. It is kind of a drastic decision. Alicia, to your question, from what I'm hearing about friends in the healthcare who are in the healthcare industry, who are literally like in the hospitals, from what I'm understanding from speaking with them directly, is that the number of people in the hospitals have increased dramatically. The positive news is that since they're younger, they're more resilient, and not as many of those people in the hospital, although they're hospitalized, they are not going into the ICU. So they are hospitalized, but not in the ICU because they're younger and more resilient. I mean, it's a good fact as far as death is concerned, but not a good fact as far as population being infected. I hate making decisions on bad data. I really struggle with the bad data, and I think that's just where I stand. That said, I just don't see how they can open. Schools are due to open 5 weeks. Okay, I just don't see it. Like, whether the city shuts down, the city doesn't shut down, I just don't see schools opening in 5 weeks live, at least. I mean,
and
possibly.
I'm pretty sure Carvalho said he wasn't opening public schools. I'm trying to get clarification on that.
All of the largest school systems in the country have already started to roll out announcements that they're going all virtual.
Yeah.
And again, and I don't want to discount the mortality rate, which is obviously an incredibly important number, but I think the most critical number for a municipal group like us, a group focused on a small footprint, is really that ICU capacity number. That's the number that is going to drive how many people die, whether or not they can be seen and treated appropriately and expeditiously. So I agree with everything you're saying, Alicia. All these, and I'm also petrified by the fact that there's no confidence in the state health department's numbers. I find that to be the buried lead of this meeting. But the ICU capacity number is, to me, the only number that's really critical for our community.
Well, we're at 127%, and aren't our deaths 93 today or something like that? So, I mean, if you look at the average over the last couple of weeks, we're over 90. At one point, we're over 100. So, I mean, that's every day. Think about it. Over a month, how many people are going to die? It's just a staggering number. I don't think we should be desensitized over the data and what's happening today. We are literally the epicenter right now, it seems like, of the world of the coronavirus. What is that? There's even a TikTok about Florida. And not a good one either.
No, it's not good. Well, the report that I have up is the detailed report that I get from the county that I share with you all that show the bed counts. So you can see the numbers there, and although they're a little better, they're still bad. And when you're looking at patients admitted to the ICU, that patients admitted in general, it shows there the count, and this is for.
And what's this date as of, Christina? Because I can't see the dates. On
Oh, sorry. It's as of the 19th, and it's as of the 19th.
Okay, so it's up to the date stuff. Okay.
Yeah, if you see on the top there, it shows the date of the report. And I sent this to you all yesterday, so you should have it in your email. If you want to just look at the numbers on your own time to kind of decipher things. But if there's any particular questions like the ICU numbers and the detail that Alicia was requesting, I'll ask and see if they can drill down on some of these for us. And I'll share that, via email so you all have it. But this is the report that I'm getting every day from the county that I try to share with you all, so you have the latest.
The 2,244 patients admitted, is that on the 19th? That's total cumulative? What is that number?
Yes.
Yes, what?
On the 19th.
On that one day, we had 2,244 patients admitted into all the hospitals in day count.
Correct.
Wait, are those new admissions? No, you got to be careful about them. Let's be careful with the data. It's 2,234 people in the hospital that for COVID or newly admitted. Like, is that like attendance? You know what I'm saying? That's why I hate this data, because it's just so hard to understand.
I'll ask. It's a good question.
300 new people, or 2,300 people in the hospital because of COVID, and 507 are in ICU beds, and 1,700 are
That's how I read it,
non-ICU
because it
beds.
says COVID on it.
New admissions, unless they are new admissions. I don't think they can be new admissions if you look at the number of beds that we have.
Exactly.
That's attendance.
So I think that
you guys are correct.
There's a section under that one that says new COVID patient. So I think that
it's attendance.
Right. The new COVID patient one, the one that's underneath that.
So it went up from the 18th to the 19th, it went up 200 people, approximately.
Right.
And from the day before, it went up 100 people. It's steadily on the rise. I mean, it's definitely on the rise.
Yeah, I mean, you can see in this chart, let me try to get it.
But we started out with 1,600 people July 6th, and now we're at 22. So we've gone up 600 people.
Right. And then this chart up here,
2 weeks.
Give me a second, it's scrolling.
I just hate the data. I just really struggle with the data.
And plus they add the number of people in
like
the
ours,
hospital, but they don't
data.
add the number of people that get released. So it's not even consistent the way it's reported, and that nothing is explained. So I mean, I look at this report, but I'm always at a loss for what it means.
So one of the important data points for you guys to monitor, you're right, that is a totality of number of ICU COVID patients currently in. That is not a daily intake. If you look at the bottom, and I'll send this, there's a daily dashboard we get from the county where it shows new COVID patients taken into hospitals and patients discharged. For many months, we saw a small delta where sometimes more people were being discharged than being brought in. Sometimes it was an equal play. Right now, for example, just on the 19th, there were 23 more people. There was 153 people admitted and only 130 people discharged. So you're seeing that delta increase, which is why you're seeing the ICU bed capacity increase and the conversions to ICU beds happening.
It was a
I would imagine
40%,
that's also-
I think it's a 40% increase from when I looked at this data last night.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That's pretty staggering in a 2-week or less than 2-week period.
Agreed.
40% increase in what, Danette?
In the ICU beds, I think it was one of the numbers, or patients or something, was one of the numbers down. I was looking at the stats last night.
Yeah.
The patients admitted, I think it was the patients admitted. And also the ventilator count. So you look at the ventilator count from when this report started to now, how many are available. Those are just the critical numbers. Yeah, the younger population gets sick, they go home, but what happens is they give it to their grandparents, their parents, or other friends that have respiratory issues, or they have asthma. It's a bad scene. And like you were saying, Alicia, that also stops other people that are, whether they're having a heart attack or something much more critical, those beds are now compromised. And how do you treat non-COVID ICU patients? I don't know, when we did the shutdown before, we seemed to we flattened the curve. Memorial Day hit, we knew it was gonna be a spike, and it spiked. July 4th hit, that was another spike. I'm just afraid also Labor Day is around the corner.
We were closed Memorial Day though, still pretty much. So
no, there was a rush to open. I remember there was a rush to open the beaches and the hotels and things like that. And we did close our beaches, but there were still people coming.
Yeah, no, we were closed. I mean, if people came, they came, but we were closed.
Right.
That. And I just think that the full force of the virus had not arrived to it. Again, I think also the fact that there's less people going out than coming in has a lot to do with the amount of days that people are in the hospital. And so I'm hoping, right, and praying that in another week, we'll have more people leaving because they've been hospitalized enough time to get out. But I think that that's a critical stat. And one of the things that maybe we should do is a list of the stats that we want to see before every time we get on one of these calls, so we can start with that information clearly explained so that we know what's going on. And then there was something else that was including dead people in the number of people that were, I think, in the hospital, which was insane to me. I mean, if they're dead, God bless them, they're dead, but let's take them out of the hospitalized people. It doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, hopefully I was misreading that because it was so crazy. But again, I don't think that we have enough information to go on the record with a recommendation. I think that we need to have someone from the county and maybe somebody from Jackson to really be able to give us enough information so that as a thinking group, we can make a recommendation.
But I think we are all.
And I'm not sure we need to wait a week for that.
Right, but I think we're all concerned about the numbers and the growing numbers as long as if the data is correct. This is a major concern to all of us, right? I mean, I think
yeah.
To say that.
And I agree that the ICU beds is critical because people will die if they don't get the proper care. And if we don't have the capability of giving them the proper care, that's a critical number. But we need to have the information and from the county and from the city and from, I guess, Jackson. And it's also unacceptable that we are not having our two mayors and our medical system talking to each other. If we want to send a message about that, I'm happy to do.
Well, they are. They're going to speak to that late. They're going to speak later. But I think that they're also looking for the community's support and recommendation of whether we would all support a shutdown if it was warranted, if they have the numbers that prove, because they have a lot more information that any of us are privy to. They know the real numbers. So I am just personally, I'm very concerned. I don't like the track that this is going on. We should all be worried, and this is all going to affect us business-wise, health-wise, everywhere, every way.
No, I mean, I think we're all concerned, and again, I don't think we need to wait a week, but maybe we can organize our questions appropriately, get the right people here, or at least get the answers, and then we can always regroup on this. Bridget, what do you think?
Alicia, when you say,
Instead of scheduling a new meeting, can we adjourn this meeting so we have more information from the mayors and then continue it? So we don't have to have
I was gonna recommend that we wait till what happens today and see if there's any announcements today.
I know, but what I'm saying is instead of creating a whole new meeting, can we adjourn this meeting temporarily, take a timeout and reconvene the meeting once we get the appropriate data that we've requested from the mayors and reconvene tomorrow or Wednesday?
No, because we have to
Letting this
sunshine.
drag on another week just doesn't seem practical.
I mean, is anybody comfortable? Is anybody comfortable sending a message that, as you know, as the DDA, we would support whatever decision was made by the county by the county and city mayors regarding a shutdown based on real data? I mean, if it's just about the fact about, you know, I hear the apprehension towards supporting a shutdown per se, but what about supporting a decision made based on good data? I don't want them to go into this conversation today and have them say, yeah, but you know, if we propose a shutdown, the DDA will flip out. You know, I think maybe if we propose, you know, maybe there's something more generic.
And I'd say, Gary, I think it's a great idea. I just, as a committee of the DDA, I don't believe we have the authority to speak on behalf of the entire DDA. I mean, I think we're just talking on behalf of the Recovery Task Force.
Fair enough.
But I think we all are in agreement, whether or not it's a week or shorter. I think we just don't have the information in front of us to make any decisions, in my opinion. I like the idea of adjournment, but I want to get input from my colleagues on the board. Maybe we put it over. I think Alicia's point is well taken. The next points are all well taken. Maybe we put this over till Wednesday. We hear what the mayors have discussed and decided. We asked for somebody from the county to be on this with Wednesday. And then we can either go forward with our plan to help reinvigorate and bring business back into Miami, or we can put it on hold and maybe take up some other issues within our chart. But I mean, it's hard to pick turning left or turning right until we have this basic information before us.
Okay, Richard, to that point, can we do something like outline what the committee's concerned about? We're concerned about the increase in cases. We're concerned about the limitation of ICU beds. We're concerned about, you know, the various things that we're concerned about, and we're willing to support their decision. We just request more data or something like that. So at least we can send a strong message about the observations that we're making and what we're concerned about, because I think we all agree on the things that we're concerned about, right? But
Also concerned that we don't close Miami, keep Miami Beach open and the rest of the cities open, because that's ridiculous. What are we doing? So
Right.
we have to act at a minimum as a county,
Right.
not as a region. Maybe we can coordinate also with the Fort Lauderdale people.
If I could say, let me see if I can sum this up for Christina. And I just tell me if I'm not stating it correctly. I think the one we're concerned is that we're doing a piecemeal approach as opposed to a comprehensive statewide or regional approach. I think that's what
I agree.
And I think the city mayor is trying to do that. He recognizes that, and that's why he's been speaking with the county mayor, and will speak with the county mayor later today as well, so that it's, you know, a cohesive plan where we're all doing the same thing.
And then
a regional approach and a unified regional
approach. Yeah.
Unified regional approach.
Yeah.
Regional and or statewide approach. I do think I was just up in Daytona Beach with family for the weekend.
Keep getting on
And
camera.
it's absolutely silly up there. People are walking around with masks. You know, like I walked into a Subway sub to get a sandwich, and you know they're all standing there without masks on. I just turned around and left. But so I think a regional or statewide, as I think as Alicia But I think the other concern would be, and tell me if I'm misspeaking, that the ICU bed capacity and the ability to treat at our hospitals may be overwhelming, thus contributing to the death rate. We also have concerns about the growing death rate. And I think a growing death rate, the concept of, death rate, although it looks to be going down, remember, our population of infected people is exploding, right? We're at 10, 12,000 people, where the death rate was at 2,000 people. The death rate was a lot higher, but it was on a 2,000 person per day populace. Now we've got 13,000. So maybe it's gone down to 1.5 or 2, whatever that number is, but you're still piling up more body. I mean, you're still causing more deaths. And then I guess I would, and then let me turn it back to the committee to fine tune what I've said. But then I would just say is, from a business owner in downtown Miami, I don't really want the businesses bled out slow and worse over a long period of time because we didn't take leadership early on, right? If this is something that we could stop within a week or two, as Danette, I think, correctly points out, by shutting down or other actions, I'd rather get it past me and get back into, a phase 1 restart, because right now, none of us are going back.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is important is to bring in some information about the social fallout. And what I mean by the social fallout is what's happening as a result of the current condition with crime, with child molestation, with child abuse, with wife abuse, with all of those things. Because I am really terrified at these schools not opening. The pressure that is putting on families is enormous.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's reasonable. I really don't, because again, we're just looking at one data point. Everything's surrounded to COVID. No one is talking about anything else. So I think we should, get some information from whoever, the police chief or whoever it may be. But in terms of being bled out, I have 4 offices in downtown. I've lost track of how many times I've had to close them, not only because of COVID, but because of the civil unrest that pops up and boom, I have to close again and again and again. So I feel your pain, Richard. Clearly my organization is not as big as yours, but it's very disruptive. And Danette, like you, the PR nightmare, because so many of our customers are from out of town and out of the country, is horrendous. But to just decide we're gonna close down when unfortunately there's no clear evidence that it's a solution. If I think it's super important to keep our hospitals under control, to find out the stay of the people in the hospitals, to see if these people are there longer, but they're getting cured or not, because we don't have enough data. It's horrendous. I don't think we have enough data, and there isn't a case study that, oh yeah, this works. So there isn't a sample.
It just seems like the numbers are over 10,000 every day, and we have close to 100 deaths every day, and that's a clear data point. And now is a time to do it. If we're going to bite the bullet, now is the time to do it before more people are getting infected. And when we did shut down, I think there are other things that should be done. But wearing masks is one of them. But I think trying to control this, I don't know any other way than to shut down. And I'm not the expert, and none of us are. We definitely need the data. It's just that the hospital beds, the ICU beds, the deaths, the infected rate that's clear data.
Look, the infection rate, quite frankly, worries me a lot less than the other part of this equation, because there's a lot of people that think that we just have to get through this with the herd, whatever, immunity, et cetera, and to the extent that people are testing positive, as most people that I know are, with very, very few exceptions, and they barely got a cold, great. Let them get infected, let them get over it, and let them become part of the solution. So this is the thing that makes this so confusing. What we want to make sure is that for the people who do get sick, that we have the ability to take care of them in our hospitals.
I think we have a unique opportunity here, actually, Christina. The head of Jackson happens to be a former DDA board member. I'm not quite sure why we don't reach out to Carlos Migoya one-on-one and get a direct response. I think that may be the best strategy, and include him in this meeting.
Sure, no problem. We'll do that.
That's a great idea, Gary.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And let's talk to the police chief, and let's get some statistics also to the collateral damage here, and maybe somebody from the school board as well, because this is not such a one-track issue. There's many tracks.
Okay.
And all right, so let's bring this thing in for a landing, unless somebody has a topic that they want to jump into. But I think we've articulated some concerns that we have that we want to look at, Christina. I think you can articulate them as a concern because we just don't have enough information. We don't want to make a decision that doesn't make sense because we haven't, the issue hasn't been studied with enough data for us to tell us what we think. I don't think we can talk on behalf of the board. So maybe you want it to the committee members or whoever, give us a brief summary of what the concerns of the committee are. And then we can communicate them up the chain, and we can talk to both mayors.
And we may want to invite the whole board to participate if they want to, because I think that's
I was
going
going
to
to
be a very
suggest
important.
that.
That's
Yeah,
a
I was
good.
going to suggest that.
Why don't we invite the whole board and actually include the whole board on our, well, we're never going to get a consensus then, but I have no problems just sending it out to everybody and just saying, these were the concerns that we have. But I would just, and I'll leave it on this thing, and I'll just echo one other thought, is that as the infection rate grows, if you're looking at numerator and denominator, the infection rate grows, and then that increases with the exponential spread.
Right.
That, to me, is an indicator of what other numbers are going to look like later, such as ICU or death rate. Because the larger that infection rate is, my percentage, and therefore my number of deaths in ICU are going to go up correspondingly. But unless somebody has solved something. So any other questions from the committee? All right, anybody else? All right, everybody, motion to adjourn.
Hey, wait, before you guys adjourn, this is Fernando. Again, thank you for having me on the call. And hopefully, once we get past this stuff, I certainly would like to work with the committee because I think our goals are the same. It's recovery. And I'm making myself available to you guys as a group once we kind of get past this and start working on fixing things that are broken. So I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Fernando.
that too.
And you all should have received the report that we've been using to monitor the different recommendations that came out of the committee, just to show you where we're at. And a lot of this I spoke about at the board meeting, so not to hold you all up again. But it's in there if you want to check out kind of where things are.
It's a great to-do list. It just doesn't make any sense if we're doing it for a lot.
We're doing a lot of it in the first year. So as much as we can,
Technical question, Richard.
Yeah.
Adjourning versus continuing in terms of notice?
I think we're continuing until Wednesday for the purpose of getting additional data.
I don't know. The city has a very
I don't know if we're allowed to do that. Yeah.
Right. I don't think we're
Can you
allowed
ask
to do
Barnaby?
that, but I will ask Barnaby to see if we can schedule something by Wednesday, maybe under the custom of an emergency
Hey, Barnaby.
situation.
He should be on here. I saw him sign in.
Can we take it, Barnaby, you're on mute. Can we take a temporary timeout and come back once we get more data?
Oh, I didn't see
Or do
Barnaby.
we have to notice a whole new meeting?
If you want to,
he's there, but we just lost.
if you want to recess the meeting, yes.
Recess. That's the word.
But I would suggest what I'm hearing is you're thinking, oh, I'm sorry, I thought today's Friday. Today's only Monday.
Right. I wish it were Friday.
You can recess the meeting, although I would encourage it to be re-noticed as a new meeting instead, only since it's a couple days off.
We're happy to notice it. I think we just don't want to wait a week. Do we have to wait a week to notice a new meeting?
I believe the requirement under the code is 72 hours. So if you give me one moment, I can double check.
Since this is kind of an emergency.
I think we just want to get, recess was a word, but I think we just want to take a time out so we can gather more data. We want to continue the meeting, would be the goal. I think making a decision sooner rather than later is much better. We just want to make sure we make it on good data.
The legal, like you said, Suzanne, legal requirement is if you recess the meeting's still ongoing. So you can, reconvene it once the.
I'd like to recess the meeting. I'll make the motion. Do I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, recessed until Wednesday unless we hear something different from council. But as of right now, we're recessed until Wednesday, same time, same bad channel. All
Thank
right?
you.
Thanks.
You.
All right.
Thank
bye-bye.
you, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye. Stay healthy.
Yvonne,
Yes, sir.
even though the meeting's recessed, I would encourage you to still notice it.
Okay. Same way, or do I have to do anything different? Just
You can even put the wording of continuation of the recess meeting or something like that.
okay.
But I would encourage the notice to go out with the clerk's office and everything else you guys do.
Will do. Okay. Thank you. You read my mind once
Bye.
again. Bye.